Elon Musk grew up white and wealthy in apartheid South Africa, which is a system built on racial hierarchy, white supremacy. Critics argue his background influences the way he sees rules, power, labor, and discrimination. But no, apartheid wasn't regular racism. It was something similar to Jim Crow, where the government enforced racial systems where black South Africans had fewer rights. During that time, segregation was the law, while also giving whites massive economic advantages.
June 16, 1976. Over 10,000 student protesters flooded the streets of Soweto, South Africa. For 28 years, South Africans had been living under apartheid, a strict policy of segregation that barred the country's black majority from skilled, high-paying jobs, quality education, and much more. And in 1974, the government announced schools would be forced to teach many subjects in Afrikaans, a language used primarily by the nation's white ruling elites. But when protesters rose up to fight this injustice, the government's response was swift. Armed police officers turned their weapons onto the crowd, and over the following days, they killed over 150 students.
Black workers were exploited, which means they were forced to work with little pay, while the police suppressed their resistance. Many argue that growing up in the normalized inequality space can shape a person's future. Now, I'm not saying he misses apartheid or Jim Crow. There is a lot of controversy between him and his dad, Earl Musk, literally building wealth from apartheid-era business. And there were also claims of an emerald mine and using slave labor or forced labor. But this, of course, has no solid evidence. Either way, he was an engineer and a property developer. So there's that. Then things start to get real. People started to notice how he spoke on quote-unquote wokeness, or whatever they tried to change it to. Discrimination, diversity programs, etc.
My son is dead. So my son Xavier is dead. Killed by the woke mind virus.
All at times, he often mocked social justice language. He hated DEI, still does.
It's really annoying when a video game gets interrupted by some DEI woke bullshit. And I'm like, Jesus, I was playing a video game here. Can you just leave the video games alone?
Dismissing media concerns about hate speech.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's gonna try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself. But go yourself. Is that clear?
And even portrays anti-racism conversations as political correctness.
Asking you personally how you feel about that, because we're talking about power and influence and...
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them.
Some saying he doesn't like conversations about racism. Take it as you will. But I mean, I didn't always have this view. Running he from Africa, being ignorant, I thought he cared about black people. I liked, and I still do like, everything he's doing with space and robots. Plus he got hella other companies. Once I saw what his dad said about race, I started to notice a pattern and realized I can't assume anything.
America, in the next 20 years, will become, for the first time in its history, a minority white country.
Well, that will be a very, very bad thing to happen. You want to see the US go down? Why? Oh, you don't like cars and electric cars, and you don't like technology, or what is it? You want to go back to the jungle, or?
If the US becomes a minority white country.
Yes.
So there's Latinas, there's blacks, there's people from all different races make up the majority, and then, you know, it could be 48% white people. Do you really think the US is doomed if it goes under?
Yes, it goes under there.
Seriously?
Yes, of course. You see, if you take South Africa, we have a small white population that projects the European culture, or what we learned from Europe.
And oppressed millions of black people.
No.
For decades.
How do you oppress? We gave them work, we fed them. They grew from a tiny little group into a massive group. That's not oppression, that's feeding them. Do you understand? You only grow big if you get fed. You only start at 800 and become 50 million if you get fed. We fed them, for crying out loud. You know, enough with this nonsense.
But so you understand, because the black population was so oppressed under apartheid.
Well, we never saw this oppression you're talking about.
You never saw it.
No, I never saw it.
Yeah, because you're white.
You on Twitter and was advocating for free speech. At first, I'm like, that's cool. Me being who I am, I don't like censorship on myself, so I can understand. But I never knew what kind or freedom to say what that he meant. And I soon learned that X is the most racist app I've seen ever. I mean, maybe it's just my algorithm, but I can't go on that shit without seeing shit that's about race, or somebody fucking dying. If you control the media, you control the narrative. I can almost guarantee you that Bob the Builder nigga was influenced by X. If these racist communities keep on overwhelmingly celebrate the policy changes, it makes you question were they changed.
Her parents came to South Africa from Canada because they sympathized with the Afrikaner government. They used to support Hitler and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't know, obviously, I don't think they knew what the Nazis were doing. But they in Canada, they were in the German party in Canada, and they sympathized with the Germans.
Yeah.
So when the Afrikaners government came into power here in 1948, then May's father, who was quite an interesting guy, he was a very good pilot, he said he wants to be with the Afrikaners because he agrees with apartheid.
Or anti-woke, controlling behavior behind sensitive social issues. I mean, must I continue? Because I can. It stops looking like an accident at some point. He does employ all races, support merit over identity, and criticizing DEI is not automatically racist. But even Ray Charles can see something ain't right. Don't forget all the lawsuits and complaints that the black workers heard about the racial slurs. Called racist shit, having claims of racially hostile work environments.
Tesla facing yet another legal allegation of racism. A black former military contractor now suing the electric car maker, claiming he was tormented by white co-workers.
We have covered a fair number of these racial discrimination lawsuits against Tesla. And what makes this one stand out in particular is how they treated a black coworker who was severely injured while working in Afghanistan.
Before he was a quality control project manager at Tesla, Mark Cage, who is African American, worked as a defense contractor in an active combat zone in Afghanistan. 2 explosions and separate incidents left him severely injured. This is the alarm that you typically hear during a rocket attack. One day, a coworker's phone went off with a ringtone similar to that alarm, and it triggered Cage's PTSD.
He went to the employee discreetly and calmly and politely asked that coworker if he could please change his ringtone, and explained why. Instead of doing the civil and appropriate thing, that coworker not only increased the volume on his phone to make it more obnoxious, but told other coworkers about it so that they could change their ringtones too, in order to essentially harass Mr. Cage.
According to the lawsuit, a superintendent sarcastically told Mr. Cage to get over it because he needed to face his fears. As for the alleged racism, Cage saw swastikas and prominent displays of the N-word at the Fremont plant. In one instance, he was called a boy, and when he filed an expense report for groceries, his manager wrote, "This is $160 for barbecue?"
And then allegations of retaliation when somebody do tell. I ain't never been called nothing like that ever at work. So when you got not one, not 2, but dozens of lawsuits, that definitely raises some eyebrows. Even had someone named, Owen Diaz. It won like $3.2 million for racial harassment.
Like a weight lifted off my shoulder.
Validation and relief now setting in for Owen Diaz after a federal jury in San Francisco ordered Tesla pay him nearly $137 million for racial abuse on the job.
I'm just the tip of the iceberg.
Diaz was contracted as an elevator operator at the electric car company's Fremont plant in the Bay Area for 9 months in 2015 and 2016.
What kind of harassment did you experience there over the course of the 9 months that you worked there?
The N-word scratched into the bathroom stalls. They were calling me a clerk's monkey and the Spanish version of the N-word. This other guy was getting on the elevator with me, and he was telling me, Ian, hurry up and push the button. You ends are lazy.
Diaz says he became a target for write-ups after he began reporting the abuse. But it was after his 19-year-old son took a job at the factory that he decided something had to change.
I was taking him lunch And he had a Caucasian supervisor called telling him, I can't stand all you effing ins. So at this point, my son was looking for me for help. At that moment, my son had saw him break me. I just had to live with that decision that I made to take him in that factory. That's the biggest mistake I ever made in my life.
Diaz and his son are no longer among.
This fool had the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, sue Tesla for systemic racial harassment with claims as far back as 2015. That's more than a decade.
OC, you've probably seen that around your workplace, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It includes claims from a black worker at the Fremont, California plant who says people were using what they describe as the N-word all the time, especially men and particularly white men. It claims Tesla failed and refused to take steps to address that behavior. Tesla did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment.
Not even speaking about the Cali one.
Tesla, which was slapped with a lawsuit alleging racial discrimination, is countersuing the California agency that leveled the allegations against the electric car maker at its flagship assembly plant. The EV manufacturer alleges that the California Civil Rights Department, a state agency charged with enforcing local civil rights laws, flouted requirements that it notify Tesla first and give the firm a chance to settle. Tesla is seeking an order barring the CRD from following what the carmaker calls unlawful procedures and requiring the agency to adopt new regulations through a formal rulemaking process.
Or the large class action one with thousands of workers. Man, I feel bad for anybody, especially a kid that deal with racism. Man, as a kid, I was so blinded to the world. I never realized the scale that this shit is still at. I pray for any child that mental innocence was taken away at a young age because of that shit. I look at the world so different now. And with this vision is good and bad. I just don't see why little Bill and little Billy gotta be the next generation to keep the race wars going. Even if the goal set is neutrality, the real world impact and messaging can still disadvantage certain groups, which is why it is criticized. Intent matters, but the impact is everything. I'm not saying I can read his heart, but I'm saying his upbringing, behavior, business controversies, and political rhetoric creates a pattern that many people, such as myself, find deeply concerning. Policies that remove identity-focused protections can still reproduce unequal outcomes if the starting conditions aren't equal. The question isn't whether Elon is just a racist. It's whether the system he builds and the way he responds to criticism just makes racism easier to ignore. Now, these are facts mixed with my opinion. Do your own research. Don't blindly trust me. Do your own research and let me know how y'all feel in the comments below.